Hey everybody, Sean with the Good Dog, and we've got Daisy out for her second walk on leash and prong. Of course she's got a leash on prong. And so we're just going to show the update of how she looks compared to her first walk. I mean, she was pretty good already. She's not like a massive puller or massively reactive or anything like that. But what we did see was a lot of kind of nervous reactions, depending on where Marta was situated filming, or sounds, motion, things like that. Definitely a little bit jumpy, which is appropriate for a lot of young dogs. They're a little bit more jumpy as they're, you know, kind of figuring the world out. So makes perfect sense. But let's see where she's at today and see what kind of progress she's made. And once again, the basic rules, in case you missed the first one, I want her position to be head lined up with my hip bone. I'm going to keep the leash nice and short, but not tight. I've got my signature leash grip here, the leash coming out the back of my hand, which we'll show you in another video. And she's got to hold that position. Rules of the road are no sniffing, no marking, no pulling, no targeting, anything like that. Targeting cats, dogs, anything. So them's are the rules. Commands are super simple. Heel for position. She's gonna lay down. She's already exhausted. We haven't even gotten started. So heel for position, which would involve a correction. Pop on the prong collar. No, which would be targeting, trying to pick something up off the ground, anything like that. Like I said, targeting cats, dogs, bikes, skateboards, anything. And then we'll be doing, I haven't even figured it out if we're going to do sits with her at corners right now. I'll probably do them just to kind of check her in with some light leash pressure. And then we'll move to auto sits with her down the line with e-collar and everything like that. But so those are kind of the basic three that we're going for. Heel, no, and sit. And with the sits, I'm probably not even going to be saying anything. I will just be giving her a little bit of leash pressure and letting her know that I want her to sit. Because if you want an auto sit, you want it to be auto. You don't want it to be on a verbal cue. Now, it's not going to break anything if you jump into a verbal cue and you tell your dog to sit. It's not the worst thing in the world. But you miss out on the opportunity of the surprise attack, which is you stop abruptly, dog should sit without any verbal, which means that they have to watch you. They have to watch their position and in accordance with you or in conjunction with you. And then they also have to offer behaviors with what they're supposed to do in conjunction with your behavior, which is stopping. Hopefully that's not too confusing. Anyways, let's get rocking and rolling and see how she does. Okay, it's a little chilly out here, so we're going to keep moving, try and stay warm, and try and find spots where you guys can actually see how Daisy's position is, because we've got a lot of cars parked on the street here. So we're trying to find streets where you get a good viewpoint. So let's check it out. Heel. And whenever she moves out of position, heel, I'm going to give her a tiny little pop when I say heel at the same time. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to give her a little leash pressure. Good. That will eventually turn into a pop, either on prong or e-collar, or starting with prong and then moving to e-collar. That's how you create an auto sit. You don't just walk out and like nail the dog. Auto sits are something where you create a pattern of you walk up, you stop, pressure comes up on the leash. Dog goes, oh, every time we stop, this is what I do. Cool. And then eventually you hold the dog accountable with a consequence, which is a correction, either through prong or e-collar. Typically the way we do it is pressure, then prong correction, then e-collar correction. Heel. Wow, they like painted this and everything. New Orleans is getting fancy. And crazy. Well, it's always been crazy. Yep. So once again, we want that head lined up with the hip. Lined up with the hip. Reason being is that it's harder for the dog. Heel. And if it's harder for the dog, that means that the dog is going to be working harder, heel, to hold that position rather than getting into trouble. Rather than scanning and looking for cats, dogs, bikes, squirrels, whatever, they're going to be paying attention to us. And she already feels about 1,000,000 times better than the first walk. So nice progress with just one walk. We're still seeing a little bit of nervous stuff with Marta walking behind her, but that's just a little bit of her youthful nerviness. And then when Marta starts to speed up, we'll see if she tries to speed up with her. Super common behavior. She's doing actually really nice. I'm going to slow down. Good. Nice work. Then we walk up to the corner. Pressure up. Good. That's it, girl. Yep. And let me give you a quick little tip. I love training heel on sidewalks because sidewalks create they create parameters for the heel, right? Basically, they create left and right parameters. Dogs, even though they could run off into the grass or into the bushes, they typically don't. They stay on the sidewalk. So you're just really working on forward and backwards motion and cultivating that. Eventually you can get it to where it's rocking and rolling no matter what, whether it's sidewalk or not. But initially, it's super helpful to have a sidewalk in your back pocket, if that makes sense. A sidewalk that, what I mean is that you can utilize. And what you'll see, the reason I brought this up is when you step off the sidewalk, you'll typically find your dog starting to speed up, doing some other stuff because the structure of the sidewalk disappears. And then you'll find dogs starting to wander or starting to speed up because all of a sudden the thing that they were just walking on, which had very lazy girl, the thing the dog was just walking on that created all of this kind of structure and focus goes away. And the dog's like, whoa, what's this? Cool, let's try this. So don't be surprised when you cross a street that your dog starts to speed up or get a little more loosey-goosey. It's super normal. Your goal is over time to ensure that your dog understands that crossing the street is exactly like being on the sidewalk. So use a sidewalk to cultivate great great heel walk, great structured heel. I'll get it after 3 or 4 times. And expect that when you move off the sidewalk that you're going to get some funky business, most likely. So don't freak out about it. Don't feel like your dog's like losing their marbles and really hard timing you. Just realize context has just changed and you'll work on it as you move through the training process. Yep. So shorten up my leash, get it just right. Yep. She got a little ahead of me. Now we're moving at about like a medium pace right here. This is a nice easy pace for her. And if I slow down dramatically, you'll see she gets worried about you and me. There we go. But she's holding it great. So nice work. So I want to let her know she's doing a good job, but I don't want to make it hard for her. No, don't worry about the rock. I don't want to make it hard for her by giving her a lot of praise. So that's pretty good for a second walk, already like really, really connected to my speed and my position and her position in conjunction with it. So we're going to speed up a little bit more. And to be honest, most folks walking their dogs would probably be pretty darn excited about this kind of walk, right? We've already got a walk where you could just cruise, give a couple little reminders here and there, and you've already got a great thing. So we didn't pick a ringer for this to be easy for us. It just happens to be the dog that we have to work with right now. And we'll continue to show more and more and more dogs. Good. So just to go over what actually just transpired. So just real quick, the sequence for doing the auto sit, you can really mess this up really easily and it's not going to ruin your dog. But if you're trying to make a nice smooth thing happen, the sequence of how you do it is important. So as we're walking up, first you plant both your feet, right? And it's going to happen in quick succession. So you plant both your feet. That's your dog's cue. Uh-oh, auto sit coming, right? That you're actually starting to create this almost like a verbal cue, except it's non-verbal, comes from your feet. So I like it like this. Take it easy, lady. So walk up, plant both feet. So you stop first, plant both feet, and then you apply pressure up for your dog for the auto sit, and then with the leash and prong. But you notice I'm not yanking or popping her because we're not at that stage of creating a consequence correction. So we're just at that point where we're teaching. So what I did was planted my feet. Sorry if I stepped on your tail. I'll do it right here. Pressure up. Good. So a little resistant to that. Nope. Just sit tight, lady. So real quick. Pressure up. As soon as the dog's butt hits the ground, pressure goes away. That's the sequence. You walk up, stop abruptly, leash pressure up, not wham, but leash pressure up gradually. Dog's butt hits the ground, leash pressure goes away, mark it with good, and you're done. Yep. So I'm going to walk up, plant. Good. Yep. And when you're really working on this, you can just do a bunch of reps. So we'll do a bunch of reps right here. So, good. And what you'll see is, as we do more and more, she should get better and better at noticing that my feet are the cue. Heel. Good. Very little leash pressure needed. Heel. Good. Nicely done. Notice that? So that time took no leash pressure, just the cue. Heel. Good. Good. So if you do it nice and gradual like that, where you set up the foot cues, then you set up the leash pressure, and you do a bunch, and the dog gets familiar with it, and then you just keep repeating it, and then if you're watching, you'll notice that the dog, and at some point you have to kind of give the dog the opportunity. No, sit. You have to give the dog the opportunity. No, come over here. I know the sidewalks are terrible. You have to give the dog the opportunity to see if they're going to do it. At some point, you have to not apply any pressure and watch and see how far are we. Has the dog picked it up? Has the dog started to do it on its own? If you're always going to pull and put leash pressure, you're never going to know if your dog's finally got it. So at some point, you have to like jump out of the airplane and pull the parachute and see what you get. Ready? Heel. So bite coming, we'll probably see some nervous reactions. Not too bad. Another one coming down the way. But like I said, basically a walk that most people, heel, just a little bit in front of me, that most people would be extremely happy to have, right? Just dog walking right next to you, not misbehaving, not going bananas. I'm gonna let her go potty here. Go potty. Okay, so now we're in a pretty good groove. I like her position. I'm gonna watch and make sure she doesn't try and sniff anything on the ground or anything like that. Heel. So if she speeds up a little bit, be right on top of that, guys. Remember, if you're cultivating a clear heel position, then the sloppier you are as far as what you allow, how much motion forward, how much motion backwards, sideways, is going to create a very loose heel, a very flexible heel, and that's not what you want. So what I'd love for you guys to do is be really focused on that position, heel, focused on that position, and really carve it. Here it is, right here. And as soon as the dog moves out of it, heel is, say the word, offer the correction, get the dog right back into position, and be really, really consistent with that. And then what you do is you basically create this like little heel bubble, heel, and that's where the dog will stay, and that will become the new pattern. Dog up there, a little interested. Yep. What I find a lot of owners doing is that the dog is walking so much better after training than they were prior. We'll let this person go by. Good. Yep. So owners are typically so ecstatic that their dog is walking so much better than they were before that even something that looks like this, she's like, what are you doing? Something like this, way up in front, whatever. But if there's not a bunch of pulling, it's like, wow, it's so amazing. It's really great. Like, she's not pulling, she's not being a maniac, and they'll let that stuff go. So that's how you slowly lose your great training and your awesome heel position and your awesome walking dog, by saying, well, that's pretty good, and then pretty good becomes pretty bad. So just decide what your position is and then hold tight to it and be consistent. Don't feel like you're being an ogre, that you're holding your dog to a nice, tight, consistent position for the walk. What you're doing is basically creating a situation where you guys are going to be able to walk anywhere and have a blast, rather than having a dog that you're constantly worried about what they're going to do on the walk. Good. I gave her a little bit of pressure. I probably could have not done it at all, and she would have done it. Good. Yep. You can do it again. Good. A little bit in front of me. We'll work it out though. Yep. One more thing is to always remember that, is that Rome wasn't built in a day, guys. So don't go out and expect 1 walk, 2 walks, 3 walks, 4, that you're going to have a dog that's just amazing as far as the walk. If you get one of those, poof, celebrate. You got the lucky roll of the dice. But for most dogs, it's going to take quite a bit of patterning. It's going to take quite a bit of patterning. And if you have bad habits, you and your dog, but especially your dog, if your dog's reactive or your dog pulls like a maniac and has been doing it for a considerable amount of time, then you're going to have a considerable mountain to climb, which means you're going to have way more time you're going to need to devote to addressing this. Your corrections may need to be firmer. You may need to engage in 180s, all sorts of different stuff. She's an easy dog. Let's check out her little sit. Good. Nice, very nice. Yeah, so if you got bad habits, it's going to take longer. You just have to be ready for that work in order to get your dog into a great space. She doesn't really have much in the way of bad habits, so it's a pretty darn easy thing that we got going on. Yep. And you can even see when I say heel and she's not paying attention, she turns, looks over, and heads out on her way with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up, and then I'm going to slow down pretty good. We'll see how she does. Good. Yep. A little bit of pulling. So once again, we're cultivating that heel position, letting her know even when we're crawling at a slow pace, it's got to look good. Just remember, guys, life isn't always like high-speed walks. Sometimes you're going to be in very crowded situations. Imagine we're in a farmer's market here. I always use the farmer's market example. Imagine you're in a farmer's market with people everywhere. And you're having to navigate really crowded, a really crowded situation, then you're going to want to be able to have, for one, your leash nice and short, and then and then we just got somebody over here. Two dogs. You're going to want to be able to, so check this out. Dog's right there. So watch. Nope. Nope. Good. You don't need to be staring like that. So if you're navigating really tight confines, highly populated area, you might have to be walking very slow, and you might need your dog right there with you, turning, moving, all the stuff right there with you. But if your dog doesn't know how to walk slow, and if your dog doesn't know how to move in different directions with you, you're going to have a harder time. So those kind of situations are going to be really problematic. So there's a method to the madness, and there's a reason for slowing down, medium speeds, high speeds, things like that, changing directions, all that stuff. So, heel. Someone's having a good time with their horn. There we go. Good. Yep, got some street food going on over here. Man, New Orleans is doing some stuff. Painting some streets and putting in some bike lanes. So hopefully you guys can see the nice improvement between the last walk, the first walk, and the second walk. Really nice. I mean, this is a dog I could cruise the entire French Quarter and just like blast through and have a great time. So really good news for our owners. Good news for her. Good news for us. And if you notice also, when I said yesterday that as I'm trying to cultivate that position, I'm going to keep my arm further behind me, right? I talked a little bit more yesterday about keeping the arm back further to where the leash hangs straight down when the dog's in this position, right? Because my arm's here, leash hangs straight down to the dog's neck, which puts the dog's head right at my hip. Now, if you notice, there's actually a subtle difference. I'm still doing that, but my arm's moving more and more. So as the dog gets better at holding the position, this tiny bit of motion, which sways the leash back and forth, doesn't miscue the dog. So she's already learning and doing a really nice job with it, which is allowing me to move more freely. Yep. So you can see a little bit of like swing in my arm. Nothing dramatic, but definitely a change from the last walk. So let's stop right here. Good. So that's our second walk. No. Doesn't mean you're out of this. So they always know when you're talking. Cool, you're talking? So that's our second walk with Daisy, and she's looking great. And just leash and prong. We'll be moving to e-collar at some point, but right now just leash and prong stuff. So you guys who want to just do leash and prong stuff can borrow from this and see the basic techniques and really see how easy it is, see the mechanics behind it, see how easy it is on the dog. And most importantly, what you don't want to do is just apply constant pressure. There's nothing worse that will sink your battleship when it comes to prong collar training than to keep constant pressure on the prong. You guys probably can't hear all the madness that I can hear. But keep constant pressure on the prong, and then it basically just causes your dog to acclimate to that pressure, and then it means nothing. And so they'll just happily pull against it forever. So there needs to be a big contrast, and that contrast needs to be absolutely zero activation of the prong when the dog's in the right position, and then quick, sharp activation of the prong when they're out of position. And that's it. So you have those big contrasts, and that helps the dog learn. So let's see what we get on the next walk, and we'll go from there. All right, guys? Thanks. Yep.